प्रभुतव मूर्ति विनोदकारी पलपन विसरे नहीं जो विसारी जुगल चरण सोल जिन्न जेह नजर समीपे रहो हमारी एह। श्री कृष्ण महाराज नी जय, घनश्याम महाराज नी जय। Supreme Lord Swaminarayan, our inspire, His Holy Divine Pujapad Guruji, and all of you devotees who are watching this discourse, my humble Jai Swaminarayan. Today's topic has to do with all Hindus. Today's topic is very special, but it may seem hard to one at first, but once you get used to it, it's easy. It's a practical basis. Today I want to talk to you about the great fast of Ekadashi. Not only in the Swaminarayan religion, but mainly all religions in the Hindu ethnicity believes in the fast of Ekadashi. According to the Hindu calendar, Ekadashi is the 11th day of both the bright and dark half of each month. That's according to the Hindu calendar. According to the American calendar, the dates vary, but it's apart every 15 days in a month. There are 2 Ekadashis in a single month, and obviously total of 24 Ekadashis for the 12 months. Each and every Ekadashi has an origin behind it, has a story behind it. We won't go through all of them, but it's just a small fact to know. Let's first take a look at the meaning of the word Ekadashi. Ek means 1, and Dasi means 10, totaling a number of 11. The number 11 has a significance behind it. It's just not there for the name, but there's more importance behind it. In the nectar words of the Vachanamrut by Shree Maharaj, he says in Garuda 1st chapter, 38th Vachanamrut, someone asks, what are the characteristics of observing a fast on the day of Ekadashi? Shree Maharaj replies that the 10 indriyas, or the senses, and the 11th mind should withdraw from the vishays, meaning materialism or maya, illusion, any kind of materialistic pleasure in this world, and should be attached to God. The whole meaning behind fasting on the day of Ekadashi is to withdraw from materialism and attach one's senses and one's mind in the form of God and also God-related activities. This is the main idea, the main concept. Now, first, let's talk about the 10 indriyas. The body is known to have 10 indriyas. 5 karma indriyas, meaning action, indriyas or senses where you can perform action, and 5 gnan indriyas, or indriyas or senses where you can acquire knowledge. So, the karma indriyas include the mouth, the hands, the feet, the reproductive organ, and the discharging of waste, that organ particularly. And the gnan indriyas include the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, where you can acquire knowledge. And the 11th one is the mind, which is the most important, you can say, because that's where all the storage of all these senses, all the things that you've acquired knowledge of, that's where all it gathers. So the true fast of an Ekadashi is when one controls all these senses and the mind and joins it with God. But there's a very special story behind this, you can say, not festival, but this day particularly. How did it come about? How did the name come about? Well, let's take a look. Maharaj even narrates it in the Garuda middle chapter 8th Vachanamrut by telling the story of Ekadashi, which I want to tell you. Once, God was sleeping with his 10 senses and 11th mind drawn inwards, meaning he was introspecting. Murudanav came to battle God, but then a young beautiful woman was created from the divine light of God's 10 senses and 11th mind. Seeing her, Murudanav proposed to her, "Please marry me." The woman replied, "I will only marry you if you defeat me in a duel." Thus, a duel between Murudanav and the young woman began, in which the woman severed his head with a sword. God was pleased with her and told her, "Ask for a boon or a wish." The woman requested, "On my day of observance, no one should eat grains. Furthermore, since I was born from the divine light of your 10 senses and 11th mind, equaling a total of number of 11, my name should be Ekadashi. Since I am a saint, on my day of observance, no one should indulge in any of the vishays related to the 10 senses and 11th mind, which indulges the mind." Ekadashi's wish was granted. Thus, now we have the day of Ekadashi, where we fast. There's 2 Ekadashis in a month, as we know, and 24 in a year. So, by doing this Ekadashi, Shree Maharaj becomes very pleased on his devotees, and he also commands each and every one of his devotees in the Shikshapatri, verse 79 to be exact. Shree Maharaj says, he writes, "Also observe with proper festivities the vratas of all Ekadashi days of every month," meaning that one should observe this fast. Now, there's some rules to this fast, how to observe it. It's just not that easy, you can say. But it's mainly day to offer devotion because the credit of everything is doubled on this day. You know, when we shop in stores like Walmart or Walgreens or any stores, they sometimes have a deal like buy one, get one free. In the same way, on the day of Ekadashi, if you just do a little devotion, it's actually considered to be doubled in the record books of God. That's why it's such a significant day as well. Nevertheless, Brahmanand Swami, one of Shree Maharaj's poets, you can say, he says the punya or merit from the donation of 1 crore, meaning 10 million cows, is less than 1/16th part of the fruit of doing 1 Ekadashi. Imagine how much significance, imagine how much weight it is or it has to do and fast on the day of Ekadashi. Now let's take a look at the benefits of observing this fast. First and foremost, one becomes freed from the debt accumulated by performing sinful acts or activities. Meaning, during our life, during each and every part of our time period on this earth, the human tends to do some kind of sin, which is harmful for others or harmful for oneself. By doing this, the soul acquires these kinds of bad sins and is kind of in negative balance. Now, by doing this Ekadashi, that negative balance is washed out. That's why one should perform. Also, by doing this Ekadashi, one earns great merit and Bhagwan Swaminarayan becomes pleased on his devotees. Also, fasting is also good for the physical body. We'll go further into that after this lecture, almost 5 or 10 minutes in. But fasting is physically good as well. You might think that how is staying hungry or how is eating little food healthy? But I have proof, and there is research that has been done that proves that fasting is actually a better cure for diseases than even medicine. Also, Ekadashi, the fast, purifies one's mind, body, and soul. Meaning, one's body, obviously, we talked about, is purified. The mind also has sinful thoughts inside, but by fasting, one's mind also becomes, you can say, diluted, and one can also easily attach oneself to God. And lastly, it's a good way to gain spiritual strength, meaning we want to do so many endeavors. We want to please God in so many ways, but we don't have the strength to do it. But by fasting, one gains such kind of strength where one can perform many endeavors like Mara, do Danvat, or the 9 ways of devotion, and one can please Bhagwan. That's why these are the benefits of doing Ekadashis. But as I mentioned before, there are some rules. There are some do's and some don'ts. So, first question, what can I do on Ekadashi? First, one can perform the 9 ways of devotion. For example, listen to Katha, sing Kirtans in front of Bhagwan, chant his name, serve Bhagwan, do his pujan, bow down to him, so on. These are just some of the ways. Secondly, one can read his holy scriptures, like the Vachanamrut, or Swaminarayan, or Bhakti Chintamani. All these are scriptures in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, which give different references. The Vachanamrut, as we talked about in our previous discourse, gives philosophy. Also, Swaminarayan, Gunatin Swami narrated, he gives much knowledge about how to attain God in easy fashion. So scriptures can be read. Third, one can do God-related activities, like serve. If you go to a temple, you can serve at a temple. You can help some devotees out. All these things can be done on the day of Ekadashi. Here's an exception. I understand that everyone has school or college or work. So they might be thinking that, how could I do all these things? Well, maybe you have to use your brain during your schoolwork or during when you're at work. But after you come home, you can do these kinds of, you can perform these kinds of devotion to please God. Instead of going to your friend's house or playing video games or watching TV, on this particular day, one can do these devotional acts that I mentioned before. And by doing this, Bhagwan becomes pleased on his devotees. Now, the other half, what should one not do on Ekadashi? In the Vachanamrut, Shree Maharaj says, one should not allow impure thoughts of lust, anger, greed to arise in the mind. Also, no immoral acts should be performed physically as well. Meaning, one should not perform any kind of immoral acts like killing an animal or any kind of small, big act, anything like that, such as eating grains. We'll get into that further, but these are just some immoral acts. And also, one should not allow impure thoughts of lust, anger, and greed to enter one's mind. You might think that, how do I have control over my mind? How could I possibly keep these out? It's not like a door where you can shut it so that cold wind would not come in or rain would not come into the home. It's not like that. Well, I got a technique for you. What you can do is, if some kind of thought like that is trying to occur in your mind, you would want to do God-related activities, like chant his name, or pretty much you're diverting your mind on some other subject so that these kinds of thoughts do not enter your mind. This is the best solution, which Shree Maharaj also mentions in the Vachanamrut. Also, one should not sleep during the day. Many people have work in school, but if an Ekadashi lands on a weekend, many tend to sleep in the afternoon, but that should be avoided on this particular day because it breaks the fast. Also, one should not get angry at anyone, meaning one should not, even if the worst thing happened in your life, And if you are observing the fast of Ekadashi, and if you tend to get angry, then that fast is also broken, meaning you cannot achieve the credit for doing the fast. Also, one should not give pain to others. This is also important. In each and every person, in each and every soul, Bhagwan resides. And if one pains another person by a word or physically, then Bhagwan also becomes displeased and your fast is broken. And let me give you a scenario. Suppose you fasted the whole day and it's 10 o'clock at night and you became angry at someone, or if you pained someone, or any of these things happen where you did something wrong, then your fast would be broken. Even if you have fasted for the whole day, but if it isn't that time where Ekadashi is over, and if you break one of these rules, then the fast would be also broken as well. Also, mentioning what you cannot do on Ekadashi is eat grains. This is one of the most important parts of Ekadashi. Now you can say, if I can't eat grains, what can I eat? What can I possibly eat? Because everything is consisted of that. Well, let me give you some alternatives. You can eat fruits, you can drink juices, you can eat dry fruits, vegetables, and also, as a Hindu, there's Indian stores around, and from that you can buy stuff that is farari, it's called, which can be taken on the day of Ekadashi. So there's many ways to avoid eating grains, and there's many ways to actually abide by such diets as I told you before. So this is one of the most important rules, where one has to avoid grains and eat only fruits. Now, on the day of Ekadashi, what is considered to be the ultimate, meaning there's levels as well, that the ultimate is a waterless fast, meaning not even drinking water, no food obviously, but not even drinking water, and just intake of air, you can say, or oxygen. This is the best known fast, and it's the ultimate way to please Bhagwan. Second, what's the best way? Well, to fast, but drink moderate water. No eating still, just drinking moderate water. Even if you drink too much water or constantly drink, then it is also will break your fast. These are strict vows of Ekadashi, but it's good to know, because if one does want to perform such a fast, it's very good to know, so one can perform in the right way to please Bhagwan. What is a good way? Like, take fruits, juices, or eat farar foods, meaning not to eat grains still, but to eat fruits and vegetables, as I mentioned before. And what is the worst thing one can do on the day of Ekadashi is to eat grains. One should never eat grains because it's forbidden, and if one does, then one accumulates more sin than even pun or merit, as Shashtriji Maharaj has also mentioned. But I've talked to you about the day of Ekadashi and its importance and the do's and don'ts, the rules of doing it. But more than that, people want to know what is a big deal about fasting. Fasting doesn't only consist of, you can say, not eating anything. That is ultimately, the name is fast, but also just to eat vegetables or fruits or something like that. What is the effects of it, you can say? Well, it occurs on 3 levels. The type of fast I'm talking about consists of no eating, just drinking water. It happens on a physical level, a mental level, and a spiritual level, meaning on the soul. Let's talk about the physical level first. The body, especially the digestive system, is given a rest. Meaning, when you fast, this is what happens. These are the reactions. The body directs its energy to get rid of the toxins clogged in the channels and cells. The body is rejuvenated by this process. Meaning, physically, your digestive system is given a rest, and also, we can say all our vital organs are given a rest. Because think about it, if any kind of material, such as food, goes into your body, then your body has to work in order to break it down, especially your digestive system, and to gain all its nutrients, your body has to work. But if nothing is taken in, then your body is given a rest. So this is a very good, you can say, benefit of fasting. Second, on a mental note, it heightens consciousness, sense of perception, and concentration, and it improves mental thought and mental clarity as well. You might be thinking, I'm only fasting physically, but what does it have to do with my mind? Why is my mind being affected? Well, when the body is weakened, then the mind is also known to weaken out. Meaning, when we eat food, then our mind is also, it becomes like that. There's a saying, Jeu un, eu man, meaning whatever you eat, that's how your mind will become. So, if one eats nothing, then your mind also becomes under control, and one can direct one's mind towards the form of God and attach itself to God-related activities. That's why it's such an important factor, and that's why it's such a good benefit to fast. And on the third note, spiritually, meaning on the soul, each and every person has a soul, and by doing such kind of activities, each and every soul is being affected. By observing the fast of Ekadashi, one soul is affected. By doing devotion of God, one soul is affected. By doing sinful acts, like eating something that you're not supposed to, or hurting someone else, even if you're doing it to someone else, your soul also becomes affected in a negative manner. So each and everything you do is actually one part of your soul which is being affected. Now, let's talk about the spiritual level. The greatest effect is it strengthens our Atma, or soul, gains strength to control the 10 senses and the 11th mind. Once the soul begins to realize its latent power, it can strive faster and perform higher spiritual endeavors to please God. This is the best method. When one soul becomes very strong, one can drive faster to please Bhagwan by doing spiritual endeavors. And the ultimate goal is to please Bhagwan. The reason why we perform Ekadashi fast is to please Bhagwan. The reason why we even go to temple is to please Bhagwan. The reason why we follow the rules of Bhagwan is to please him. Everything is to do this. But fasting on the day of Ekadashi is very, very effective in pleasing Bhagwan. So even if one is a small child, we can say starting from the age of 7 and up, one can still perform the fast of Ekadashi by eating fruits. You don't have to stop and eat nothing and just drink water, but by eating fruits and such other kinds of diets, one can also please Bhagwan. So saying this, I advise all of you to fast on the day of Ekadashi. Hare Krishna Maharaj Ni Jai. Shri Patim Shri Dhanam